you show something, you have to point it at this camera. You can hold it, yeah, just like that is perfect.
Oh, okay, right here.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll take photos of them too, so that way I can get a closer shot.
Okay.
I'll just put my phone on silent.
Yeah, I turned mine on.
That way. All right. Okay. So, but I've got the questions that I gave. I've got them in front of you, but I'm going to read them out to you, so that way it's kind of conversational. And so when you talk, you can look at me if you'd like. You don't have to look at this camera at all, unless you're showing something to it.
Okay.
And let me get my questions. So first of all, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh,
Thank you.
pleasure. Oh, pleasure.
We're glad to kind of get your story out here. So, so I'm going to go through the questions right now. Okay, ready? Everything should be recording.
Do I answer one question at a time, or wait for the whole thing?
Just one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. And then, I mean, I'm going to edit it either way. So if you wanted to stop and say, can I start that up again? We can do that. Or if you just want to go into something totally different, I can kind of place it wherever I need to.
Okay.
So I'll start with the first one. So first, please tell us about yourself and briefly describe your time in the military, kind of like which branch, when you joined, like your length of service and duties.
Aloha. My name is Samuel K. Ono, and I'm living now in San Antonio, Texas. I was born in Hawaii in 1934, attended Kalihikai Elementary School, Kamuki High School, University of Hawaii. I served in the Hawaii National Guard while in high school. I attended Fort Lee, Virginia, Quartermaster School, and then served in the 1st Infantry Division in Fort Riley, Kansas, the big red one, and finally served in the Hawaii Army National Guard, Reserve, total 20 years of service. I taught in the Hawaii State Public School System for 33 years, and I taught the students American history. I'm now living with my wife, Patricia, in San Antonio, Texas.
Thank you very much for your service. It's quite a distinguished career in going through all of the different things. So you're, having spoken with you, you're not the only one in your family that is a service member. Can you tell us about your brothers and their military experiences?
Yes. This is my brother, Harry Mitsuo Ono. And he was born in Hawaii in 1920. He attended McKinley High School, was already in the Army when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. And the Japanese American soldiers were kept together in a unit. And he was in the 100th Infantry Battalion. Some other Japanese American soldiers were in the 442 Regimental Combat Team and Military Intelligence Service, and also the 1399th Engineer Construction Battalion during World War II. The 100th was sent to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, and then to Camp Shelby, Mississippi for training. While Harry was in Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, he sent this pillowcase cover to my mother, and she kept it, and here it is from World War II. It says here, "In the service for my country and you. To Mother, a word of love and gratitude a little word of peace, praise, a word to wish you happiness in many pleasant ways. But words can never say enough, nor wish enough, it's true. The real wish is between the lines, dear mother, just for you. To Mother with Love from Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, World War II. So the boys from Hawaii sent their mothers these pillowcases. Now, after Camp Shelby, Mississippi, they were sent to Europe to fight. And they were very aggressive, and they fought for 20 months in Europe. And they suffered a very high rate of casualties. So their nickname was the Purple Heart Battalion. Harry received an injury to his ears, and he did receive the Purple Heart Medal. After discharge, he married, had a son, and worked for the U.S. government in Chicago, Illinois. They are all now buried in Chicago, Illinois. So this is my brother, my eldest brother, Harry. My second brother is Alan Kenji Ono, and he served in the U.S. Army for 35 years. And he was the Army's first Japanese American and Asian American Lieutenant General. He attended public schools in Hawaii, and he was a cadet in the ROTC program in the University of Hawaii. He became a second lieutenant and graduated from the infantry school in Georgia and the airborne school. He served in Izmir, Turkey, Panama, and while he was in Panama, a senior officer became his mentor. Alan served in Albuquerque, New Mexico as the Army recruitment officer. He also served in Hawaii and in the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. While in the Pentagon, Alan volunteered to serve in South Vietnam during the war. In the Pentagon, Alan helped increase the number of Army recruitment. So after 35 years, he retired. He always kept in shape physically and mentally. He was very sharp. As a member of a minority race, Alan strove always to study harder, to be prepared, to be mentally sharp, to be quicker, and to be the best in all endeavors. He led by examples and was always fair. He always worked to bring honor to his parents, his family, and to the Japanese Americans in the U.S., and also to serve his country. After retirement, he served as a vice president of the American Savings Bank in Hawaii. He was a lieutenant general, and he and his wife, Evelyn Masaki, are now in the National Cemetery in Hawaii. They have two surviving sons, Craig Ono, Chief of Staff at the Honolulu Shriners Hospital, and Curtis Ono, ophthalmologist in Seattle, Washington. Alan said this once: I was completely and constantly aware that I am a Japanese American. It meant that I worked harder, moved quicker, and by habit critiqued my own actions repeatedly from every perspective. I had a focused and fierce drive to build a reputation of professional competence and high personal integrity with no blemish of shame on my family and heritage, and also no shame on the United States of America.
Very good. So you and your brothers seem to be very proud of both your American and Japanese heritage.
Yes.
So your family was in Hawaii during the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
So can you talk about your experience there and maybe some of your family's experiences?
Okay. December 7 was Sunday. Sunday morning, many sailors were in town on shore leave. There was no alert. Stores were closed because it's Sunday. People were sleeping late. Then the shock of war came. And immediately, the territory of Hawaii was taken over by the U.S. Army. They now ran the whole show. So the governor of Hawaii and the mayor of the cities had to follow his orders. Hotels were controlled for military use. In other words, tourism just ended because it's war. All beaches were closed because the army was afraid that Japan may send soldiers up the beaches. So we had no way to swim in the Pacific Ocean during the war. Barbed wire kept us out on every beach in the entire state. Gasoline was rationed. You had to have a ration stamp to buy 1 gallon of gas. So every month you got ration stamps. If you ran out of stamps, you could not buy gasoline for your car. Naturally, taxi drivers got more stamps, and doctors also, and others who had to drive for a living. We all had to carry gas masks because we thought that could be a threat. The gas mask looked like this. It covered your face and half of your head. And here's the canister to filter the gas, the poison gas. So you don't breathe it. This all filtered here. And you had a bag here over your shoulder into which to put the canister and the gas mask. So the adults had bigger masks and the kids had smaller masks. So we all had to carry our gas masks to school and everywhere that we went. If you went out to see a movie, you take your gas mask with you. It was really important to have. Now, as we went about our business, we were surprised that suddenly we're at war. And for children like myself, I was 7 years old. This war was almost like a movie, but we're living it 24 hours a day. Christmas trees were not available anymore because the trees were not cut on the West Coast, put on ships, and brought over to Hawaii. So after December 7, we found out that we were facing Christmas with no Christmas trees. So one day my father went out into the back hills and cut down a big branch. And he brought it home and trimmed it and put it on a stand. And this was our Christmas tree for that year, 1941. And when December 31st came, no firecrackers, because this is war. You cannot be playing firecrackers in the middle of the night. So we had to do with just lighting candles and wishing everyone a Happy New Year, because no firecrackers were available. So the U.S. Army took over all of the islands. Hotels were controlled by the military for their use as tourism collapsed. And so the hotels were all filled with military customers. And no new cars were built. Now they're building tanks, trucks, jeeps, airplanes, weapons of war, and fighting ships. So everything changed. If you had a shortwave radio, you had to turn it in, because the authorities were afraid that you may be listening to some secret message from perhaps an invading force, or sending a secret message to the enemy. So my parents had a shortwave radio, Zenith, and they turned it in. And by the way, we never did see it again, even after the war. I don't know what happened to it. Fishing boats were confiscated because you cannot go out and signal the enemy way out in the ocean. So to stop that, they were confiscated, and fishermen lost their means of income. The Japanese language newspapers closed. Japanese language radio stations closed. Japanese language schools closed. So everything closed all of a sudden. So these people who were very influential in the community, Japanese Americans, were confiscated and sent to internment camps in California. Well, they were called relocation camps. So they were told, you have 3 days to sell your house or your farm or your business, because you have to report to a certain place, have 2 bags of clothing, that's all, and you're going to be gone. We don't know when you're going to come back or if you're going to come back. So there was a lot of commotion going on. My parents had a picture of the Emperor Hirohito of Japan on the wall. And one day I looked and it was gone. Never saw it again. Windows had to be blocked so that at night no lights would escape for the enemy planes to spot. So many people boarded every window in their house with construction paper. My father got a bucket of black paint and painted all of the windows, and it worked. Even your keyhole in your door had to be covered because light could come out. If some light leaked out at night, there'll be a big knock on your door, as the warden would be saying, "Cover that light now." Even the headlights on cars had to be dimmed. And so children had to rush home after school and do their homework, because at night the lights had to be dimmed So we sat there in the dark, listening to the radio, no TV, just radio, and that was our entertainment. As we walked to and from school, we began to see these banners in the windows of homes. What is this? We found out that this family in that home with one star had one serviceman serving their country. And after a while, we saw many banners in many homes, and they were proudly displayed. And everyone knew that they were doing their part in this war. Then later we began to see banners with a gold star. So we wonder, what is this? Did he do something spectacular? How did that blue become gold? Then we found out the serviceman gave his life for his country. And these banners were displayed all over town throughout the war, proudly by the families.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because everybody talks about the day, that lived in infamy, but nobody talks about what life was like afterwards.
Yes.
So we really appreciate you shedding light on that and seeing what everybody had to go through.
But everyone had one thought in mind. We have to do our part to serve our country, to win this war. It's not a matter of money. It's not a matter of getting a prestigious job. It's to win the war. We sacrificed, and everyone was so proud to serve. Even the children are asked to serve by buying war stamps. So in school, every Friday is stamp day. You brought your money, you could buy a quarter stamp or a 10-cent stamp. And you get a book and you put the stamps in the book. When the book is full, you turn it in, you put in, I think, $18.75, and you get a $25 bond. It's a war bond. It's for the war. Later on, you can turn in the bond and get $25. So it's either a 10-cent stamp book or a 25-cent stamp book, but all the children were so happy that they could do their share in this war. We were all proud to serve, and it's not. So war became real to us. It's not something just in a movie. We're living it, and our brothers and sisters were right in there, and our parents, and everything was about serving the country to win the war. That's the main thing. And so every family stressed love, support each other, praise accomplishments, and we were proud to be Americans and to be in this united effort. And we always felt that we have to win this war. There's no way we can lose it. We must win this war. And I believe that today we are in another kind of war, but we are at war, and we must win. And for the Asian Americans, the The whole purpose is to serve your country, obey laws, do the best you can, sacrifice, don't grumble, because we're all in this together, help each other to win. And that's the bottom line, to win this war for each other.
That's it. And I remember all the sacrifices, the metal bumpers on the cars that they had to take out, sugar, nylons,
Yes.
kids collecting scrap metal.
Yes.
So that's all in that effort, and everybody was on the united front.
Yes.
So you had talked about the kind of the philosophy of the Asian Americans. So do you think being an Asian American has given you any challenges or opportunities that other people may not have had?
In reality, the answer is no. I think when my parents came to Hawaii to work, they left their old life behind in Japan and became Americans, Japanese Americans. And they saw that the opportunities available in Hawaii, US, was so wonderful that they could not think of, after finishing their work, to ever go back to Japan. They became Japanese Americans. So their loyalty shifted gradually, and then the war came, suddenly, dramatically shifted. And the whole idea was, this is our country now. This is a better country. And we're not going back. And we choose USAA and its principles of democracy, capitalism, and freedom of religion, freedom of speech, all the freedoms that they did not have in Japan. And I think the other races that came to Hawaii felt the same way. The Chinese, the Portuguese, the Filipinos, and the latest group that came over to Hawaii after a war, the Vietnamese. They see America is the land of freedom, opportunity, and there's no way they can go back to their old country. They're Americans now.
Yeah, that's a good
Yes.
motivating factor to keep going on.
Yes.
So, has being raised in an Asian household, even though it's still Asian American, there's still some Asian elements and cultures, has being raised as an Asian household and culture shaped any of the decisions you've made growing up throughout your career and in the military?
In the Japanese family, respect, love each other, help each other, uphold each other. And wrapped around this, you have the family name, the family honor. It's terrible for a Japanese family to be disgraced in some way, like committing a crime or something like that. If your family member has committed a crime, the whole family suffers. People will look at you and say, you're the brother of that guy who did this, or you're the father, you're a bad father, or you're a mother, you didn't do your job, or there's no love in your family, no support, you didn't bring them up properly. So, and this goes over to your school. I went to this school, but I did good in life because I went to that school. And also I did if you committed a crime, people would say, what kind of school did he come out of? You see. So the whole idea is to have a reputation that you're proud of, personal, your family, your race, your country. You do the right thing, you obey the laws, you don't cheat, you don't lie, you don't steal. To be a good person, it's so important. I'm sure the other races have the same philosophy, and they do it in all different kinds of ways, but there's no race I can think of that accepts bad behavior and bad reputation. They always want to think that we're brave, we're hardworking, we are successful in life. So I'm not sure if the Japanese Americans have a monopoly of this kind of life, this philosophy. I'm sure the Filipinos have a similar feelings and values, and the Chinese and the Koreans and the Vietnamese, and I think that even the American Indians, I'm sure they have the same philosophies. But at this time, in this place, when war came, suddenly the Japanese Americans responded by being loyal, hardworking, sacrificing, brave, and above all, strong for the United States of America.
So it doesn't matter what your heritage is, our
Yes.
cultures kind of
Yes.
drive us to do the right thing.
Yes,
Very
I
good.
think so.
So my last question, I'm going to ask you a question first. Is you are a USAA member. How long have you been a USAA member?
I joined in 1958 when I joined the U.S. Army, and I've been a member ever since.
So as a longtime USAA member, do you feel that USAA connects with you as a military service member?
Yes, always. Always good service, very efficient, the workers are always caring and very responsive to our needs. And when I joined, only the Army officers could join. Then they opened up to everybody, non-commissioned officers, enlisted men, officers, everybody. That's great. And to me, I think the USA is one of the pluses that you get when you join the military, a real plus.
Well, also I'm a member and an employee. I just want to thank you for your service and let you know that, our mission is to serve our military service members and to honor them. So
Thank you.
appreciate you.
We know that we've got a very good organization supporting us in our endeavors.
It's our mission. So we thank you, and I think I'm done with the interview. I appreciate your time. It was
My
very
pleasure.
enlightening to hear a lot of this stuff, even though we've spoken about some of it, just like, everything that went on after, Pearl Harbor, and just everything that you've experienced. It was very enlightening. I appreciate it.
When I was growing up during World War II, there was no television. So to find out what's happening in the battlefield and so forth, we've got to go to the theater and see a movie. Because one segment of the show would be news of the day. Okay, then they show fighting in Europe, in the Pacific and so forth, what's happening, as they could reveal without giving away secrets to the enemy. And then another segment would be it's like a little story to boost morale. So we used to watch Don Winslow. He was a Coast Guard hero, and he was going around fighting the Nazis and so forth. And we're all yelling in the theater, go, 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 go. And then a third segment would be cartoons. So here comes Mickey Mouse. And we're all happy to see Mickey Mouse. And he's also fighting the Nazis. And then the feature film. And so the movie-going experience was also used to boost the war effort. And you wouldn't believe this, but on a weekend, my mother would give each one of us 10 cents, a 10-cent coin. So we go to the theater to buy a ticket, which costs 9 cents. You got a penny left, you go to the concession stand, and with a penny, you could buy a popcorn, or maybe a candy bar, or a bottle of Coke. So with 10 cents, you get the whole package.
I wish it was like that now.
But although we didn't feel poor, because we had everything we needed, plus. And there was always a lesson in the movies we saw. Obey the laws, be a good citizen, be a good person, help each other, and be a good worker because we're at war. Be a good fighter. Don't be just standing by. Do something. And I wish today we would all feel this way also. Today, we can do something. Each one of us, we can.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that the war effort has motivated everybody with those values to do that thing. That's the same values that family, is to do the right thing, to be a part of something.
Yes.
So.
And when all the Japanese American soldiers came back home after the war, and some did not, but when they came home, they didn't brag. Look at all these medals they got. They didn't brag about how many Nazis they shot or what they did here and there. They just came home and moved to the next step, which is, now what do I do? Do I go? By the way, the GI Bill was one of the best things America ever did for servicemen. Now they can go to college, and the parents could not afford college, but now the GI Bill will send the boys and women, girls to college. And many of the Japanese American boys did use GI Bill, came back doctors, dentists, engineers, lawyers, all kinds of in the professions. And they could never have done it without the GI Bill.
That's true.
So that was a big plus for the Japanese American soldiers.
Also,
Yeah.
Also, another reason just to be proud to be Japanese American.
Yep.
To be an American soldier.
Yeah.
Very good benefits. My wife has utilized her GI Bill too.
Yeah.
So she got her degrees through that.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Wow. So I mean, just so much going on, and then like I said, just with you, being there, and you and your family during, the Pearl Harbor attack. You mentioned before that kind of motivated your brother, right, as well?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. It was a shock, but U.S. responded as best it could. Japan made mistakes. It's like a little 100-pound man trying to fight a 280-pound man. At first, the first blow is to maybe the stomach of the big guy, and he winces. But as the years go by, you know who's going to win the fight, not the 100-pound guy. So that's a mistake that Japan made. They could not win the war because the U.S. had too much. It came too fast. So,
Even Hirohito said it at one point, not to wake the sleeping giant.
yes,
So,
yeah,
yeah. But, war is never good for anybody, but it does, at least it unifies people, if anything that comes out of it.
yeah,
And nothing, I have not seen anything like that, like World War II. Just because, you have the veterans who are still there, and it's affected them all their lives. And I can see when you see the newsreels, even Little Rascals, if you watch Little Rascals, they talked about contributing to the war effort and, and honoring the military branches.
yeah,
And so, it's something that, like you had mentioned, you hit it spot on. Everybody was unified together to
Yeah.
make sure that, that we'd get it to end. So, all right, I think I've got plenty.
Yeah.
So I thank you.
Thank you.